Well, hello everybody. It's Mr. Robbie here on Friday night, Saturday morning. It is just after 3 in the morning here in rainy old Switzerland. And I hope everybody's having a good weekend. If you're in or were in the path of the big hurricane, I hope you're okay. Some big news here. Giuliani is endorsing Kamala Harris. Check it out.
I'm here to say that I want Kamala Harris to be our next president because I believe that she will be a role model to my future children. And when I look at Kamala Harris talk and when I look at Trump talk, even if you just take the politics out of it, and I ask myself, who do I want my children to learn from? Who do I want representing me? There's no question Kamala Harris is the only choice.
Gotcha. I bet you thought I was talking about Rudy Giuliani. No, it's his daughter, Caroline. I didn't know that drunk Rudy had a daughter, and I'm glad I do now, and I'm very happy that she is going against her father and voting and supporting and endorsing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I've never heard of her before. You know, I'm not a big follower of many people on Twitter or whatever, but I'll tell you, a few years ago I was blocked by drunk Rudy Giuliani because I guess he didn't like the things that I had to say about him. It's a shame. He's missing some good jokes I made about him. Anyway, so also Rudy has a son. I think his name is Andrew. And I'm not sure if he's a politician or if he's a wannabe politician. I think some time ago, maybe in the past year, he was trying to run for New York City mayor or New York State governor or something, just trying to get his name out there. Of course, he's a Trump supporter and he supports his father. But I'm glad that at least one of the children has a brain. Take a look at the rest of this interview, and I'll be back at the end.
And what if your father is, for instance, someone like Rudy Giuliani? That is the uniquely painful and complicated situation our next guest finds herself in. Well, to the world, Rudy Giuliani is, among other things, Donald Trump's former attorney, who, according to special counsel Jack Smith's filing out just this week, a desperate Donald Trump turned to because he knew Giuliani was, quote, willing to falsely claim victory and spread knowingly false claims of election fraud, end quote. To Caroline Giuliani, he's also her dad who she feels she has lost to Donald Trump. Caroline writes this in a brand new piece for Vanity Fair, quote, watching my dad's life crumble since he joined forces with Donald Trump has been extraordinarily painful, both on a personal level and because his demise feels linked to a dark force that threatens to once again consume America. Take it from me, she writes, Trump destroys everything he touches. I saw it happen to my family. Don't let it happen to yours or to our country. Kamala Harris will guide us into a brighter future, but only if we unite behind her. Joining us now is Caroline Giuliani. David and the Rev are still here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What is this like to be telling the truth about loving your father, but also using your platform to endorse Kamala Harris?
Yeah, it was really challenging to figure out how to express these feelings and figure out if I had the strength to share them. But I think for a lot of this election, I've been watching with so many Americans in disbelief and horror at the idea of a 34-time convicted felon who refused to participate in the peaceful transfer of power being so close to the presidency again. But that disbelief also paralyzed me for a while. And I think there just came a moment where I was thinking about my future children, who I very much hope to have. And I saw these two paths for our country, one under Donald Trump, which was full of destruction and cruelty, and one under Kamala Harris, in which women can have autonomy over their bodies again, in which our government recognizes that climate change is real and is doing something about it. A government who respects gay people and trans people and people of color and women and people with disabilities and doesn't treat them like second-class citizens. And also a government that remains a democracy, because that will not happen if we elect Trump again. I think it's really important to remember that this is about so much more than the next 4 years, because the type of damage that Trump will inflict a second time around may not be reversible. I don't think it's something we'll be able to just fix in 4 years. He will change the fabric of our institutions, and that is something that we may not be able to come back from.
Caroline, how does he get people like your dad to help him do all those things?
You know, I can't really speak to what is in other people's minds, or why they make the decisions that they make. I think power is very alluring, but I think the more important question is why he's caused such division among so many families in this country. I mean, you were just talking about it before I came on, and it's really true. This is so relatable, having this chasm in your family over Trump. And the reason for that is because he spews this toxic cruelty. And when you are a woman or a person of color or a gay person or a trans person, and someone that you love supports a man like that, it is really hard to reconcile that support with their love for you. So I want healing for our country, and I do want us to find the common humanity in one another, even when we disagree about politics, even now. But if Trump becomes the president again, that will not be possible. Kamala Harris is our only path to healing. And I think she presents a really beautiful path to healing for us.
Caroline, you just said something so profound. I don't want to speed through it. One of the ways that Trump has sort of turned up the toxicity in America is to divide families along these fault lines, where the things that you may hold most dear and precious, your own family or your safety, are threatened by someone you love to pieces, supporting the very person that threatens you. What do you think Trump's allure, and maybe it is just simply the power, but what do you think it is that makes smart and accomplished men like your dad choose Trump over the people and issues they love? Like your dad, you know, the first thing you said was Trump is someone with 34 felonies. Your father's known the world over as a prosecutor and a law and order guy, for better and for worse. I mean, he's all in with someone who is diametrically opposed to what his brand used to be. Yeah, you know, it's a hard phenomenon to understand. It definitely is. I view Trump as a disease. And I think it's really important to remember that with every disease, prevention is a much more effective strategy than treatment. And I really fear that if we elect Trump again, that, you know, I thought we had cured ourselves of it the first time, but it doesn't seem like we have. And I think if he becomes the president again, we may have a terminal illness in our country. And that really, really scares me. I want to do two things. I want to read from your piece. I want to ask you to stick around, and I want to bring David and the Rev in on this. We'll all meet back on the other side of a very short break. Stay with us. Caroline, let me read from your beautiful piece. You write this, quote, "There are unmistakable reminders of Trump's destructive trail all around us, and it has broken my heart to watch my dad become one of them. Not to disregard individual accountability in the slightest, but it would be naive for us to ignore the fact that many of those closest to Trump have descended into catastrophic downward spirals. If we let Trump back into the driver's seat this fall, our country will be no exception." What do you think leads people to think they'll be different, right? Like by the time your dad was part of this, Jim Comey had been fired and left out. Andrew McCabe had been, I mean, people who had served in the Justice Department, it might have been people that shared some of your dad's skill set, had been discarded. What do you think makes people think that when it comes to Trump, they'll be treated differently or well?
I don't know if they do think that. I mean, I think the important thing to, I don't know if they think about that at all. I think the important thing is to remember that Trump is the only one who's evaded accountability for his actions. And the only way to hold him accountable is to make sure that he doesn't become the president again, because thanks to the Supreme Court immunity ruling, if he becomes the president, he will never face consequences for these actions. And in fact, he will have more leeway to break laws than an average citizen, which is absolutely crazy to me. If you look at a man like that, a man who literally is exactly who you would cast as a dictator in a movie, and you think about him with unchecked power and you're okay with that, I think you really need to reconsider your line of thought.
What is your, if you're comfortable answering this question, if you're not, we can move on, but what is your current relationship with your dad? How often do you talk to him? How's he doing?
Yeah, I love my dad very much, and that is something that made this hard. You know, I spoke out for Biden 4 years ago, and it was a different landscape then for me personally. So, you know, this was much more painful. And I love my dad. We talk openly about our feelings about things, and it's a challenge. But again, so many other families have this same challenge. It's really, you know, you said it was unique. It isn't unique. It's a little bit larger than life and public, but it's not unique, you know? And I really want us to be able to disagree about politics. I think that is so important for our democracy, but I don't believe that we have a path to doing that under Trump. I think Kamala Harris is the only person who can restore our ability to disagree peacefully.
Caroline, what do you think, how do you sort of separate the things your dad did in service to Donald Trump and the lives that were shattered, like people like Shea Moss and Ruby Freeman?
Yeah, watching Ruby Freeman and Shea Moss share their stories was extremely gut-wrenching and difficult, and I feel so bad for everything that they've gone through. I can't even imagine that pain. And that is why I'm so excited to support Kamala Harris, who has spent her life fighting for citizens, not against them. Like, she would never do anything like this. It's so clear that Trump does not care about his citizens. He's willing to step on anyone's backs to keep power. And that is not a person who deserves the highest office in our land. I'm here to say that I want Kamala Harris to be our next president because I believe that she will be a role model to my future children. And when I look at Kamala Harris talk and when I look at Trump talk, even if you just take the politics out of it, and I ask myself, who do I want my children to learn from? Who do I want representing me? There's no question Kamala Harris is the only choice.
Well, and there you have it, folks. Giuliani is endorsing Kamala Harris. At least she knows where the truth lies. She knows that her father is a liar. She knows that Trump is a liar and just a no-good person. And I really hope that a lot of more Republicans and Trumpers or fake never-Trumpers will just leave him in the dust and come on to the blue side. You know, it doesn't matter right now if they agree with her policies or not. The point is to stop Trump from getting anywhere near the Oval Office. Even Liz Cheney, she voted for Trump twice. Her breaking point was January 6th. Okay, so it doesn't matter what the policies are right now. The point is to, if you're a Republican and you really gonna vote your conscience, You have to vote your conscience and think, what is better for the country? 4 more years of Trump as a dictator for life, or normalcy? Anyway, this is Mr. Robbie, and I'll see you later. No, I won't. I won't see you. You'll see me later. That's what I always say.